Hi, welcome back to the third devlog for Soulseeker. Just as a recap, the core of the game is that you play as an astronaut unfamiliar with the environment. You can then fly around exploring the thousands of unique planets in the galaxy, exploring new planets and fighting off new enemies. Building a base is an important part of the game too, but I'm going to skirt around that right now since this video will be focusing on story generation. If you're more interested in the full game loop, you can check out my other videos. To explain the map generation, I have to start by explaining how my game saves data. There are 9,000 stars and up to 126,000 planets in the map. Obviously, storing the layout and textures of each place individually would make the game larger than anyone would be willing to download, although COD players are always proving me wrong. Instead of messing around with all that, I'm proud to say I've condensed it down all into one 10-digit number. And by me, I mean my engine, all thanks to this one handy function. When I was first tossing around game ideas, I decided to pull up my engine's documentation and search around for fun functions there. I had chosen Godot not really for the flashiness, more because GDScript was similar to Python, which I'm most familiar with. Despite that, I thought it was cool how the so-called random number generator will actually generate the same numbers consistently if you give it the same starting point, or seed. Therefore, as long as I remember my starting number, I can create my entire world exactly the same every time I open it. Now, at this point you may be realizing this isn't exactly an original idea, and at least one other certain famous game does it too. But hey, I think I do it better. After I have that number, I slap a few other arrays in it to remember the unique buildings and other resources the player has created, since those can't be generated randomly. And then suddenly I have an entire save file that metaphorically fits in the palm of my hand. It's mostly empty at the start of the game. The only thing there is a 0 to 10 digit number generated from the rand_integer function, the inception of the universe. I'll call this all-important number the save file number from here on out, since this is the only one that'll actually be saved. Come on, dude. With the basic idea explained, I can go on to show exactly how I create the universe from random numbers. Let me preface this by saying this is by no means the cleanest code. Don't use this as a reference. In fact, you should probably look away if you're doing something similar so that you don't get harmful ideas in your head. But with that, I'll start with where the generation starts, the full galaxy. I, of course, start by seeding the generator with my save file number. I then sprinkle 9,000 stars around in a vague galactic shape. Each star represents an entire planetary system. And yes, I'm calling it a planetary system and not a solar system, because technically only our planetary system is called that. I did experiment with adding more than just 2 arms to the galaxy, or spreading the planets out, but it's amazing how quickly the beautifully organized randomness devolves into a messy circle when you try that. So, 2 arms it is for now, maybe I'll keep playing around with it later. You may notice I call the stars planets in the code here. I have no explanation, maybe it was short for planetary system, maybe I completely forgot stars exist and went straight to planets when coding. What matters is that despite that, it still works. That's the fun of coding. Now, the game is split into different scenes. Only one is loaded at a time, so it's a way to cordon off different areas of a massive map. Right now, only the stars are loaded. The planetary systems are only hypothetical ideas. When you fly to a star and decide to visit it, the game opens a new scene that takes place inside the planetary system. It starts with a single lonesome star. The script then uses the save file number to determine the number of planets and their distances apart. There's an issue with this though, which you may have already identified. Yes, all planetary systems use the same save file number. That, in theory, means every system should look the same when visited, since they all stem from the same origin. To fix that, I multiply the save file number by the star's position. That way the planetary system will look the same each time you visit it, but it'll still look different than every other system since they're all at different positions. If you're still following along, good for you, you've got the basic idea. I use the save file number and make it unique every time the map gets zoomed in. For instance, from the galactic view to the planetary system view to the on-planet view. When it zooms into the planetary system, I make it unique with the position of the star. When it zooms into a single planet, I make it unique by multiplying the planet's distance from the star. I do hash the numbers too to randomize it further so that nearby stars don't get similar results, but you don't need to know that for the big picture. It's just some math on the side. Now, generating each planet gets more complicated because each one has a different surface. I described in my first video how the environment uses a different generation method depending on the terrain. They all work in super cool and varied ways, so I'll link in the description the playlist I used to learn and implement them myself. The commonality among them though is that they all use randomness from a seed. As such, I can just use a unique version of the save file number to seed the randomness so that it's always the same each time you visit. Just as a demonstration, I'll point out the key elements of what I've been talking about in the volcanic terrain code. Here I start by seeding the generator with a unique version of the save file number. Using that, I can create a noise map that represents the land. It does loop on the sides because, naturally, if you walk around a planet, you can loop back to where you used to be, but that's some added semantics that don't involve the main concept. Every time the player visits this planet, I seed it with the same random number and the same noise map is generated. You may have trouble reading through this since I didn't bother to leave any comments in the code, but that's fine because I understand it and that's what's important. Forgoing comments saves time as long as your code always works first try, which of course mine always does. The entire map isn't randomly generated. Something I've been working on recently is creating villages in a space station which functions as your home base. Having to place every single tile by hand definitely makes me glad I chose procedural generation for most of the map. Luckily, implementing the space station is simple. I can plop it down in the galaxy like a normal star, along with having to restructure the entire flight code about 15 times. Not bad, as I said, pretty simple. Probably would have been easier if I had left comments in my code. Oh well. Saving time is... So that's how Soulseeker's map is created from one number. I could talk more about what I've been doing recently, but I don't want to get off topic, so I think I'll wait until the next video for that. Hopefully by then I'll also be announcing that the demo is available on Steam. So yeah, subscribe if you don't want to miss that. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.